Okay. All right, Foxes. Good afternoon. It's kind of nice we have actually live humanoids in the gym. I'm not dreaming. It's kind of a beautiful thing. And we do have some special guests, but we also have some fifth graders who are going to lead us in a pledge. We're going to start with Pledge of Allegiance first. Caleb Greg Head, please.
We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody got a little bit rusty because we haven't done that in a while. In the gym, facing the flag. All right, next we're going to do our bucket pledge, and we're going to have our very own Devonta the Great. Yes, I'm putting you in the spot, but we're going to miss you next year. You're going to go to middle school. Maybe we won't let you go. How about that? No.
We pledge to do our best to be bucket fillers each day by being kind to others and watching what we say. If we accidentally spill the bucket of a friend, we'll say we're sorry and be kind until their bucket is full again.
Thank you, Devon. All right. So with that, we have some really amazing guests so far here. I know that there's been a lot of questions about events in the news and other events, but what is very important is that the guests that we have here today, they are heroes. They go out there every single day to protect us. So have that in mind as you think about the questions that you want to ask. And I think what is very important is that we do have to honor what they do, and we have to respect what they do because they do provide us with a very important aspect of safety. So without further ado, I will have our Officer Ingram come up front to introduce her guests. We do have some of our very own superstars, so we'll put them on the spot.
Hello, I'm Officer Jessica Ingram with the Fort Wayne Police Department. I have with me some friends today. I'm from Safety Village and I do safety education, so I talk to littles most of the time, but I also talk to kids as well. But I thought it would be really great to bring some other officers with me today to share their perspectives as well and have a really nice time. It's so nice to see kids and be in school, and we're really happy to be here. Okay, I've been a police officer. I'm in my 19th year. And for 17 of those years, I worked patrol, and I've been out at Safety Village for 2 years. So I'm going to let my friends come over and introduce themselves, and they can tell you a little bit about themselves.
Good morning. My name is Dan Ingram. I'm the captain of the Northwest Division of the Police Department. I am in my 26th year as a police officer, and it's very nice to get a chance to come and see all of you today and answer some questions about our job. Thank you for coming.
Hello, Officer Ben Young. I'm one of the school resource officers. I've been on the police department for 11 years and done just about everything on the department, not everything, but was on operations for several years and been a school resource officer for the past 3 years full-time. I'm at Northwood Middle School, which I think a lot of you fifth graders will be going to Northwood next year, so you'll probably see me some more there. Some of you might have siblings there. But glad to be here today and answer whatever questions you have.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Officer James Payne, and I've been on the department for 19 years. I'm a student resource officer at Lakeside Middle School, and I hope to see some of you all fifth graders at Lakeside next year. Northwood's okay. It's a good school. It's a good school, but at Lakeside, we're the best side. So, Northwood. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to answering your questions. You do it.
So today, we do want you guys to be safe. We want to know that police officers are here to help you. I know that a lot of people say it, but we really did choose this profession to help people. You know, I think there's a lot of people who think all the police do are arrest people and people get in trouble all the time when it comes to police. And that's actually a really small part of our job. We get to help people way more than we arrest people. And it's really a great part of the job is getting to help people solve their problems and getting to help people and, you know, in their time of need. And that's something that I think most police officers enjoy. And that's what drew us to the job. And if any of you guys have any questions about becoming a police officer, we can talk about that too. We're not terribly old yet, but at a certain point, it's going to be your turn to step up as young people. And there's going to be some of you, hopefully, that want to come into this profession because it really is an important profession. There's a lot of people that need us. And like I said, it takes a kind heart because we do see some bad stuff sometimes. And but we have to know that, you know, we're here to help. Okay. So if there's any questions about safety or if you ever you know, have any issues, don't hesitate to call 911 or, you know, these two are going to be in middle school. They're always available for, you know, helping if you come into something when you're in middle school and also now, you know, if you have a problem. Okay. So any questions right now that.
So the way we're going to do questions is twofold. One, teachers who are upstairs, you can send a text to yours truly. I have my El Devisa with me, or you can put it here. I did block the social media, but you can send me a text with the questions. I do have some questions that were sent in before the event, but for virtual foxes as well, if you have questions, send them through the chat room. Through your teachers, and the teachers can send them to me, and then I will gladly ask the officers. And then also for live humanoids, I'm still kind of confused as to are these people that we have here in the gym or I'm just hallucinating? It's kind of nice to have people back in the gym. So I'm going to start with fifth graders. I know you had some questions. Riley, first question goes to you. Yes.
So when that happens, did an officer come? Yes, we're going to come because we don't know what's going on. We want to make sure that they're safe.
Yeah. So we're gonna share the love, Devante. Don't forget your question now. So the next question is from Mrs. Bishop's Fearless Warriors, Fearless Foxes. You want to know how long does it take to be an academy? And another question comes from one of our virtual foxes. Is it true that those who don't do well in college go to become a police officer? And then if you can dispel that rumor as well. Who wants to tackle that? About police academy, how long does it take? And also, is it true that those who go to the academy are those who don't do well in college? It's the same question that people ask about teachers. You have to be really loud.
Okay, so the police academy, I want to think when we were in it, it might have been 22 weeks. It's 20 weeks long. So, but before you go to the police academy, you have to take a test. And you are supposed to have, you know, quite a bit of, you know, you have to have a high school diploma. Most officers have at least college. Most have a degree. So an associate's or a bachelor's degree. So to debunk that notion that you don't go to college if you want to be a police officer. Yes, if you want to be a police officer, it's best to go to college. Okay. But the academy, you take a test, a physical test to see if you can get into the academy. So the physical test is 21 push-ups. It's 25 sit-ups, a vertical jump of 14. Now these are just your standards to get in. A vertical jump of 14, a mile and a half in 17:30, and you have to be able to run 300-meter sprint in 82 seconds. Now, that's just to get in. When you get in, they expect higher. So that's just to get into the academy. It's 22 weeks. You have to take tests. You have to take, you have to do some different tests before that they'll let you into the academy. And then the academy takes 20 weeks, and that's where they teach you law, and we do handgun training and all the different trainings that you have to become a police officer. So, and like I said before, are there police officers on our department that have no college experience? Yes, but there's very few. Most of us have been to college, have degrees. So.
Just remember, I'm just the messenger when I ask this question. Okay, just remember. All right. This comes from one of our virtual boxes, and we're going to go to Devonta the Great. The question is it true or not that officers love donuts? Officer Payne, I think you're going to tackle this one. I don't know why I'm picking on him, just because he's a superstar. All right.
All right. I do like donuts. However, I will not eat a donut when I'm in this uniform. Maybe. I'm gone.
Okay. I don't know if that's a scientific test or not. We're not going to do any kind of a poll, but all right, Devonta the Great, your question, and you have to be loud. So the question that from the audience came, if you couldn't hear that, was he wants to go into law enforcement and an agent, and the difference between what they do and between agents. It's a similar question to what one of our virtual boxes asked about from Mrs. McBride's classroom. Mrs. McBee's class. I'm sorry, I'm confusing my teachers from another state. All right. About being an undercover officer, and that's the same with what you do.
As far as the bail enforcement, that's something separate from the police department. So I don't know all the requirements for that. I don't believe there's college required. You're not a sworn officer as a bail enforcement agent. I would just say on the police department, there's a lot of jobs you can do and not just patrol. So like for the county sheriff's department, they handle a lot of our warrants. So you can be on the police department, a lot of different specialty divisions. So if you want to go out and catch people with warrants, you can kind of get on one of those teams specialized in that. There's, our SWAT team. There's a negotiating team or crisis response team that does the negotiating. Officer Payne is one of those. I'm on the air support unit, recently joined that. So, fly drones. So there's lots of different specialties you can do, like school resource officer, working with youth. So bail agent, I can't answer, but there are a lot of similar type of jobs you can do on the department. And undercover is one of those. You can be a vice and narcotics officer and do undercover work. And then you'll also move around and try different stuff out. So I don't know if that answered a little bit, if anyone wants to add.
Okay, ready for more? All right. Okay, the next question. Touchy subject, but there's been a lot of conversation about police officers in the news, and the question is, how do we repair the relationship, and how do we start a conversation and build that bridge back between police officer and the community, and what is it true and what is not, and how do we spread all the good that the police officers do at the same time? Thank you, whoever asked that question. All right. I don't know who wants to answer that.
Hello, it's Dan again. The way I think that we repair and rebuild the relationships is we get out and talk to people just like we're doing right now, where you get an opportunity to see us as human beings and we interact with one another, and it's not necessarily job related, but in a interpersonal fashion, and that you understand that we come from the community and we're just members of the community, and we have strengths and weaknesses just like everyone else has strengths and weaknesses. And the way that we get the conversation is going is just simply by being accessible and open-minded, and we go out and we meet and we talk with people. We're not going to agree on everything, but it does. So the way that we get to know each other is just like we're doing today. We come out, we talk, and we answer questions, and you see us as human beings, and we're here to help.
All right. Before we go on, from the audience, somebody, Scobie, you have to remember two things. I'm really old and I have really bad hearing. That's number one. Number two, we're alive, so come on up and ask your question. Yeah, maybe I don't want to put you on the spot, but he has a personal connection. Maybe you want to share or not, but I won't want to put you on the spot. All right, come on up. But you have to be really loud, like Dr. Ray. Go ahead. Talk to the world.
Hello.
We can put you on the spot. What's the question?
I just want to say, what type of shifts are you on? Like A shift, B shift?
So I work A shift hours. I work A shift hours, and I'm Monday through Friday. So I work more traditional schedule.
Then I have
So I'm sure you can't hear Jacoby because he's talking really quietly. He's training to be a undercover agent mouse. No, just Frank is hanging. Okay. He's asking about the type of shifts that they have, and he's also sharing about that his dad also works as part of the force as well. And he did a great job last year with us as keeping us safe during our overnight when we did our homeless. So thank you for that. So the question was about the shifts, and what else? That's it. All right. Types of shifts.
So I work on a normal schedule, but that it's not always that way. And most officers, it's not that way. Actually, the officers we have here today, we all work pretty much similar schedules. So we're all more on a more normal schedule, but all of us have worked, you know, a 4 and 2, where you work 4 days on and then 2 days off. So your days off might be Tuesday, Wednesday, and another person's might be Wednesday, Thursday. Several of us have worked night shift. I know that I think all of us have worked. Did you work night? Yeah, so we've all worked night shift, and that's from 10 o'clock at night till 6:30 in the morning. Well, so no matter what time you have an emergency, there's going to be somebody there to take your call. So the first shift comes on, they're on at 6. They get off at 2:30. There's another group that comes in at 2, and then they're on till 10:30. The other group comes on at 10, and they're on till 6. So there's always overlap, and there's always police officers coming on and off. And like I said, there are some of us that work like detectives. They work a Monday through Friday, and then they have weekend duty. So there's a lot of different parts and working systems of the department, and it's all different. And that's kind of the cool thing about it is, you know, I think most people are like, oh, Monday through Friday is cool, but a 4 and 2 is pretty cool too. And getting to work at night is really fun too. So just kind of an interesting thing that most people don't know about, that we do that shift overlap in that. So yeah.
All right, this question comes from Mrs. Ashcraft. Okay. Well, that's a scary thing. Oh, that's me. It's like, who's the scary guy on TV? All right, Mrs. Ashcraft, and this is for everyone, so nobody can duck this question. What made you want to be an officer? And we're going to start with Officer Payne. All right. He loves being on TV, by the way.
Hey, how y'all doing? What made me want to be a police officer is I love helping people. Love helping people. Love communicating with people, making them feel really good about themselves. because that's what we're here for, as well as handle any issues that they have that need our immediate attention. So that's why I became a police officer.
Give a couple reasons why I want to be a police officer. One, kind of like Officer Payne, I like helping people. And two, I hate seeing people take advantage of or innocent people getting hurt. So as a police officer, you both get to help and you get to stop bad people from hurting others. So those are the two main reasons I joined.
I chose to be a police officer because I wanted a job that would be different every day. I couldn't envision myself sitting at a desk and doing the same thing repeatedly over and over, or working in a factory doing the same thing every day. And I can honestly say that after 26 years, I still go to things that I've never seen exactly the same thing before. So it is absolutely delivered in my expectations as far as being constantly changing and different. And although it's not always exciting, sometimes you do get to see exciting things and different things. You also get to see a lot of things that most people don't ever get to see or do. So that has its good and its bad as well, but it's a very interesting, always changing job that I still love to do after all these years. So that's why I picked it.
So I became a police officer. I really like helping people. And growing up, my stepdad was a police officer, so I kind of had an inside look at some of the different things that police officers got to do. But I think ultimately getting to communicate with different people, getting to help other people is kind of what's rooted. You really have to like people to do this job because we deal with so many different types of people. And I mean, I think that helping people is definitely the main reason.
All right, before I start asking some sensitive question, this is from Angelo, and I'm sure nobody wants to admit. Angelo wants to know, do you turn your lights on to just go through the red lights? Just remember, he was supposed to be our team captain, so we'll give him a pass on this question. Anybody want to answer this?
So we can't just turn our lights on without our cameras coming on. So I'm not saying that it never happens, but we do have accountability and we do have responsibility and we can get in trouble. I mean, rules are to keep us all safe, right? I mean, that's why you guys have rules, different rules in school. Well, police officers, we have rules too. Now, I've been asked before, well, I saw an officer turn on their lights and then go through the stoplight and then turn them off. Well, here's the deal. We only go on certain runs with lights and sirens. If another officer gets to that run and finds out it's safe, they're going to tell us to turn our stuff off. We're still going to go, but they don't want us driving that dangerously because running the red lights and sirens is very dangerous for us. A lot of people don't see us. A lot of people don't hear us. We get into a lot of car accidents that way. And it's actually very dangerous to run lights and sirens. So, I mean, it sounds good. Oh, look at the police officer that went through the red light. But, and I'm not saying that it hasn't happened, but I'm saying that it would be very rare. And we've seen what happens when cars run red lights. And I can tell you that I'd stop at yellows because I don't want to get hit like that. Okay?
Before we go to live audience questions, there is a sensitive question coming from our 4th grade virtual boxes, and the question is following. Did you ever meet an officer who abused their power, and what did you do about it? So I don't know who wants to tackle that question.
Hello. I've never seen an absolute abuse of power. I have seen people that have lost their temper and maybe started speaking inappropriately to people or partake in a verbal exchange. Like I said before, we're human beings just the same as you're human beings. And people can push my buttons sometimes just like they might push Mr. H's or your guys' buttons. And sometimes you need a third party to come in, and that's part of what I've done before as a supervisor, is if I see a heated exchange starting, I will step in and, say, let's step back and look at this, or maybe it's time that we just leave. We are decision makers and problem solvers, but there are times when there's nothing we can do, and sometimes it's better just to leave. If there is no problem that we can solve or no solution for that day, sometimes it's best if we just get in our cars and leave and not stand there and argue. And that's what you have to be willing to do for your coworkers. And, that would be applicable to your boss too, if it were necessary. If your boss were losing his temper, you have to tactfully say, maybe this is not the right way to handle this. Maybe we just walk away and leave for the day. So it really just depends. But as far as an absolute abuse of power, I've not seen it. And I know that they occur at different places at different times, but it's a very tiny percentage of the interactions that you see. And I've never personally had to physically intervene in one. So that's my experience with it.
All right. One moment, I'm gonna ask third grade question. Sam, you asked the question. I'll repeat it for the audience, and then the officers will come up and say it loud, okay? Sam, speak up. Say that you said, does the governor Yeah, so the question in Sam, they have a big picture question. Does the president or the governor control the law? You're asking about the law controlling what police officers do? Yeah, so before, and I'll answer this since I went to law school. So I want all of you to make a circle. You make a circle. You make a circle. That's called a jurisdiction. It's a big word. So you have within a jurisdiction, there's more questions coming. So within that circle, you have a jurisdiction. So you have to remember these officers answer to the city, but they're bound by certain things that the city is bound by the law that comes from federal government and then state government. Okay, so think about circle within the circle. The same thing of circle within the circle. But I'll have them answer that question. Because the next question is actually about Miranda rights, and they can answer what that is. That's kind of one of those circles within the circle. So I don't know if anybody who wants to answer that question. And then we'll go to one more and I'll go over here.
So the question was about Miranda?
Yes, and what it is, and if you ever have to use it on a student. Yes.
Okay, Miranda is your protection against self-incrimination, which is your Fifth Amendment right. Miranda specifically is a warning that we give to individuals when they're in custody and we're going to interrogate them. You must have both in order to have to read Miranda to them. Most of us carry little cards that have the Miranda warning on them, and we read them verbatim right off of the card so we don't have to memorize every single word, but rather read it off of a card about the size of a driver's license or a credit card. I have had to read it to older students than you before, if they're involved in something criminal and you call their parents in and you're going to question them, and depending on the age and stuff, then you would read Miranda just like you would, after you give them time to consult. So it's a protection for the citizens that we must read to them when we have custody and interrogation. It's not exactly like they show on TV where every time we have contact with someone, we have to read them their rights. It's a little more dramatized for TV, but in the real world, we do use it a lot, but it's not exactly like you might see on TV.
And just something to explain to the student body. I come from a country where there is no Miranda rights. Okay, there is absolutely, like when we voted, you would have to show your ballot, how you voted before you put it in the ballot box. And if they did not agree how you voted, so that we come and visit you later. So remember those circles. Those circles are all about you. You're in the middle of that circle. It's all about the different protections. This is another layer of that protection. And it's all designed, it's all about freedoms that are around and being protected. Okay, let's go to something we did not clear. Yes. Okay, the question was, how old do you have to be to become a police officer?
You have to be 21 years of age by the time you graduate the academy and get sworn as an officer. So 21.
Okay, another question from fifth grader, and then after the answer, we have a question from actually a parent. Okay, we're going, all right. Let's see. Yes, Alexis. First of all, I'm gonna just, before I call out, says bad move, never start driving unless you have a permit, first of all, but that's another story. But let me have them answer. Anybody want to answer this? Who wants to know if you should be driving? Alexis, are you asking you have an emergency and you need to drive? Don't do it. Call Uber. Okay. Great question. So
What happens if you get stopped and you don't have any type of license or have never had a license? You are, going to probably get a citation for that, and you're going to have to show up to explain why you did that and answer for any consequences that they decide that you're going to get for doing that. It is a misdemeanor charge to drive without any license. So it's not the most serious thing, but it's not, to be overlooked either. It's important. There's a reason why we make you have a license, and you should not be driving if you don't have one. If you were ever stopped and you didn't have one, that would be a good thing to tell the officer. Maybe they would cut you a break, maybe they wouldn't. I don't know, but I would recommend not doing it.
yeah, same here. I second that motion. All right. We have two things. I'm going to read the parent's question. Parent, this is to Officer Payne. It is awesome to see a police officer that looks like me. And the question is, could we have opportunities to go in the community and start a conversation similar to earlier? And another question from one of our virtual students, similar to this, what can we do to stop bullying? I don't know if you want to start with the first one. But we can start something from here.
Hello. Yes. Excuse me. Would love to have a conversation in the community. We try to go out into the community to different groups, different places, churches, etc., and just talk and get a good relationship going, because we need to get that back. Excuse me. And make sure that we understand each other better. To answer your question now, somebody else answered that one.
Okay, about bullying. What can we do to stop bullying?
Don't do it. Don't do it. The consequences, I will tell you, when I was younger, I was bullied. And believe it or not, I wasn't always just swollen. I was smaller, a lot smaller. And I didn't like it. And it's one day that this young student friend of mine, who we're still friends to this day, came and defended me. And it wasn't a fight. Didn't result in a fight or anything of that nature. We just talked and realized that that gentleman had a problem. He was trying to hide his problem by picking on me. And we all still to this day remain friends. So don't do it. Just try to talk to the person. And if you can, try to get a member of your school staff to come in and intervene and handle the situation like that.
All right. Before I go to more, there's two more from parents. So I'm gonna go to, yes, Autumn. And then Brody will be next. Yes. Yes. Okay, so the question is, and again, about abuse of power, and if you would use your badge or your ability to put the siren on to maybe get to Starbucks quicker than somebody else, or get people off the line to get to the, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, it's running late. It's not worth doing that to get maybe a little bit quicker. So, like she said, anytime we turn our lights or flares on, our cameras and our cars start recording. So if there's ever concern that you think the officer is doing it inappropriately, you can call the police department, file a complaint, and they can look at my camera and see, okay, was I on my way to a call? Sometimes we're on route to an emergency call, doing lights and sirens, and we get a disregard. Or sometimes I'm responding to an in progress emergency where someone might be hurt, and we don't want the bad guy to know we're right around the corner. So we might turn our lights or turn our sirens off as we're pulling up or near the house. So those could be times where we do go through and shut it off. Either we get disregarded or we're almost to the location. But anytime you think an officer is doing something bad, you can call the police department. They can investigate it, and we'll be held accountable. So.
Okay. That was a question about TikTok, but all right. Brody, before I go to you, don't forget your question. There's two questions. One we're gonna ask because there's a couple of them that came through about what's happening in the news and how do we address with the whole movement with Black Lives Matter, and how do we repair what is happening in our city? And I'm not sure if they're talking about city or country, but that's a couple of things that's come through. I don't know if it was tackle that. I think it was more about, sounds to me more about repair and more communication.
Okay. Well, I think first thing first is, unfortunately, bad sells. And all you see on the news is bad sometimes. And I think that we have to have a bigger picture and realize that although there's bad in the world and there's bad in every profession, that we don't want to be prejudiced and we don't want people to think prejudiced of us. So just because you've seen one bad thing happen with an officer, we don't want to be treated that way. Just like other cultures and other skin colors and that stuff. Just because one person does something bad, they don't want to all be treated the same. We don't want to be put in that bubble. We're humans just like everybody else. We're moms, we're dads. We go to work and go home, want to go home safe at night. And I think what Officer Payne was saying before, just community outreach for people to hear and for us to hear. And like was said before, we're not going to agree on everything. We're not going to. That's just life. That's just everybody being who you are, right? We're not going to agree with everything. But that's okay as long as we can have dialogue, you know? And I definitely think that we have to talk to our kids about respecting one another and making sure that we don't put people in a bubble, because that's what, you know, the thing is about, you know, a lot of these movements is you don't want to be put into a bubble. We don't want to be put into a bubble either. So it's really important that we all communicate. I think communication is the key. Okay.
All right. Any third grade questions? Henry? Okay, so popular question. The question is, do you like being a police officer? Okay, the question is, do we like being a police officer because you get coffee and donuts sometimes? Okay. Henry, thank you for that thought-provoking question. We needed something lighthearted. Okay, who wants to tackle that question? All right.
I would answer that question with a question and just simply ask, who doesn't like donuts and coffee? But seriously, like I said earlier, we're members of the community. Most people that I know like donuts, and most of us like donuts. We don't live on them or eat them all the time, but we do like an occasional donut. I think that started from years and years ago when donut shops were like the only things that were open 24 hours, a long, long time ago. And, society has changed where there's restaurants and businesses open all night now. So that's not near as common as what has been believed in the past. But I would say most of the people I know do like donuts, but we don't eat them any more than anybody else. So, but thank you.
All right. Because of time, we're going to take one more question on this side. That's Brody. Brody, you get the last question for 5th grade. Popular question.
Well, the good thing with your question is you already have a license and you just forgot to bring it with you. So you are supposed to have your license with you when you drive, but if you just forgot it and you explain that to the officer, be honest with them, they're very likely to give you a break. Usually if our computers are working, we can look up that you do have a valid license. So most of the time we'll just give you a break to remind you, hey, next time, try not to forget it. Okay.
Okay, last question for 3rd grade, and then we have 2 questions from the virtual. Let's see, Eeny, Miny, Mo. Yes. Yes, you. I have no idea, sweetheart, what you said. I just heard blah, 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 blah. It sounded something like from Peanuts. What was the question? Okay, the question was about uniforms. Would you like to come and demonstrate?
So the young lady had a question about, we're all in the same police department, but we have different uniforms. And our department, you do have several different uniform options that you can wear. I wear the Class A as well as Captain Ingram. And then the other officers wear like outer carriers and is that the Class C. So it's just a different uniform, same function, thing. We work for the same place, just different uniforms. It's just whatever you feel comfortable in. So, I mean, there's really no difference. And same thing with county. County wears brown, state wears blue, DNR, the people who work with the rivers and that, they wear green. Any of us can help you. If you have a problem, doesn't matter what uniform we have on, we're here to help.
All right. Next question. We have one more from the virtual world. Do you ever regret not doing something? Do you regret not doing something? Either.
Stan, I can't think of anything right now that I regretted not doing. I've regretted not being able to do more sometimes. Sometimes you get a situation and someone needs help, especially with young people at school that I work with. they're hurt or whatnot, I feel bad. I think of all the students at Northwood as kind of my own kids in a way. I care for them. So sometimes I regret not being able to do more, but I can't think of any situation where I was like, well, I wish I would have done it differently. Nothing that stands out. Anyone else?
Okay, so I guess what we learned today, I'm going to ask you for a favor. Hold that thought. Unless maybe we can take one more question from. But what we learned today, I think it's important that we can't judge everyone in broad brushes. And just think about the officers that are with us in the middle school every single day who keep us safe. So I think we just need to make sure that we give everyone a chance to get to know them before we start making some assumptions about that. I think that's a very important lesson we learned today. Also, we learned what a valuable job you do for the community if you did not know that before today. Okay, Pi, you'll be the last question of the day. Oh boy. The question is, how much do they get paid? Not enough is the answer. No, okay, I'm sorry, okay. All right, who wants to answer that question?
We had a question about our pay. I believe that our starting pay after you get done with the academy and your probationary time is roughly $30 an hour. So there are a lot of opportunities to do different things like the other officers told you, and you can sometimes make extra money by doing extra things. But the base salary for a first-class patrolman is around $30 an hour, which, you know, roughly equates to $60,000 a year. That's just a rough ballpark figure. Don't hold me to the penny, but that's roughly where we're at right now. Okay.
All right. So let's give a big applause to our guests. We're gonna have third graders leave us first. Goodbye, third graders. You're first to go. I'm still kind of confused with live people. Fifth graders, hold on until they leave. Foxes, have a great day.